Hey, Justin,
Hey, Vince.
what do you call a guitarist with half a brain?
I don't want to offend anyone who plays a specific instrument, so I don't know.
Gifted.
Oh, gifted. Okay, that's not what I was going for. That's
We're not worried about offending people here.
I was gonna say a bass player, but I was like, I don't know.
Well,
Much
welcome
love to all
the
the bass players out there.
yeah, they're not people. But welcome to the Pedalboard Podcast, the podcast for gear junkies to come and get their next fix. Today, I am joined by Justin of the John Mayer Gear Lounge. How you doing today, Justin?
I'm doing great, Vince. How are you doing, my friend?
I am fantastic. If you can't tell the bags under my eyes, it's a rough morning. Rough morning.
Yeah, we were kind of in the green room before talking about how I was running a little late, had to get a Tim Hortons coffee. I'm Canadian, so of course, right? But
yeah, you got to fit the stereotype.
Yeah, exactly.
So brought Justin on today to discuss his current endeavors and his YouTube channel. He also runs the John Mayer Gear Lounge over on Facebook, for those of you that don't know. So Justin, why don't you tell people about yourself and what you're doing and kind of what your focus is?
Yeah, thanks, Vince, for having me on. First off, I want to say big shout out to Vince for all the projects he's taken on and stuff like that. I got to know Vince almost 2 years ago now. Actually, we started we got to know each other throughout the love of John Frusciante, actually, and the Chili Peppers kind of train and stuff like that. And Vince has helped me with a few other projects, building boards and stuff like that, and just sharing knowledge of what we know and stuff like that. So it's awesome to be on his podcast here, I gotta say. So yeah, basically, in terms of gear and guitar playing right now, obviously I'm kind of in my gear corner, I call it, in my basement here. Basically I started wanting to educate people more on John Mayer's gear and everything like that. Like, I knew a lot of people who shared a great amount of knowledge, had incredible collections of gear, and we essentially created this John Mayer Gear Lounge, we call it, on Facebook. It's a group, and we have almost 4,000 members now, where it's just about gear and guitar playing and stuff like that. And through that, and a lot of people wanting to learn more and the eagerness, I created a YouTube channel to educate people and kind of give them a resource to learn more. Because running a forum, the group is just over a year old now, and even still the same questions pop up almost on like a every other day basis and stuff like that, which, I mean, it's great, people want to learn, but at the same time I thought there's got to be a better way to streamline this and almost provide people with different crash courses on his gear, because Mayer is one of the, at least in my opinion, one of the biggest modern day guitar heroes out there. And his impact on people, the amount of people that have started playing guitar because of him. I mean, Sob Rock just came out and it's a #1 album, and it's, for music today, it's very guitar focused. So just to try and educate people and help kill false information, my friend Alejandro, who runs the John Mayer Gear Instagram page, he's one of the people who runs the group with me as well. He's really big on that, and it's just kind of what we're I'm all about, is providing people with the best information possible and having fun and sharing what cool stuff we have in tones and stuff like that.
Oh, and then it's great, because I remember when you first started the Gear Lounge, and obviously it takes a little time to pick up, but it's grown rather quickly in the year that it's been active. So honestly, kudos to you. Like, you guys have been doing a great job with it. And every time I open my phone on Facebook, I see 18 posts in my timeline of people posting to the group and asking new questions and whatnot. But I do understand what you're saying with the kind of streamlining. A lot of people asking the same questions. So I'll see the same thing, oh, what's Mayer's Aquapus settings, or his Centaur, or whatever the case is. And it's like, okay, I know 6 months ago they did a big post about it. So I totally get that.
Yeah, and it's never a bad thing, because I'd rather people ask and want to learn, but it's more just like the point where it's like, okay, like Facebook groups, it's not quite like other forums where you can really search and find the best information and try and find old posts. So, it's hard for people to do that, and some people just don't. But at the same time, it's, if I can point people in the right direction and be like, okay, here's Alejandro's John Mayer Gear Instagram page, here's my YouTube channel, you can pretty much get all the basics down to understand everything. And then that should help kind of filter out the frequently asked questions, which we even have a section now based on kind of like what people ask like the most and stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, you know what, like it's a lot of work. Like I say, like you'll open up your Facebook app and there'll be like 18, 20 new posts, and we probably filter out at least half of all the posts and remove them. So the amount of engagement we're getting is absolutely insane. And it's because, of the community that's there. And that's my, I haven't done a lot, but that's a big achievement in my mind, is that, we've kind of created this organic thing that we don't need to stop watering the plant anymore. It's just going to keep growing on its own and doing its own thing, where we can kind of step back and just run and make sure everyone's having a good time. So
yeah. Oh, you guys are doing a great job. And I know like Alejandro with the John Mayer Gear Instagram page, that's been growing for quite a while now. And now that there's like, obviously he's doing the thing where he's pushing out all the information on his own, but having this collective community to discuss things and actually get more in depth. And then you putting out your videos. I mean, as a Mayer fan myself, I mean, it's pretty great. And I mean, like you said earlier, you and I kind of met through our mutual love of Frusciante, and there really wasn't that sort of community for that, which at the time I wish there was, but for this, I think it's been incredibly helpful.
I think for the Frusciante thing as well, the community isn't quite there. Maybe because of the demographic of the people who are more fans to his music. And that's not a shot at anyone who's a fan. Like I'm a diehard John Frusciante fan as well. But the people I met through the love of him are a lot different than the people I met through the love of Mayer. And like you have that crossover with me where we're both John Frusciante and John Mayer fans, really big fans of both. And a lot of the people I met through John Frusciante were almost kind of wanting to be on their own and do their own thing and not really wanting to do a lot of collaborative work or honestly, like your podcast is pretty candid and I love that. And like, to be candid, like the community and the people I interacted with were nowhere near as great, to be honest, and welcoming as the Mayer fans. And that's just my personal experience. Like there was a lot of like, I was making posts just on my Instagram talking about gear or, whatever. And there's I found a lot more negativity from that group of fans with, almost anything you did or said compared to the Mayer thing, where it's a lot more like people just like soaking it up and appreciative of, people trying to, spread information and stuff like that. So that's kind of why too, like through some of the people I met through the Mayer thing, it kind of became, okay, this community we got a lot going on here and a lot of people. And to be honest too, like John's still putting out music and, at the time we didn't know Frusciante was coming back really or stuff like that, but John's still doing stuff and a lot more relevant, and there's a lot more people who need the help, and it's not quite as niche of a thing. And that's kind of where we've taken it, and it's been one hell of a ride, I'll say that.
I'm glad you say that though, because I have found that same negativity in some spots, but I think a lot of that comes from the fact that, so Mayer, for instance, he's been relevant, he's been active, his gear and everything has been pretty fluid. Like he obviously has some of his mainstays, but there's always something new and exciting to look at and try out. Whereas Frusciante, the last time he was active with the Chili Peppers, at least, was 2006, 2007. And
that's when Continuum came out, if you think about that. Like
exactly, yeah. And he had a very set rig. Like there was no mistaking his sound, and it was very specific. So I guess there's just a lot more kind of, rigidity in that realm versus Mayer, where he's still doing things, still putting out music, and he's still relevant. Whereas now Frusciante's just coming back, a decade later. So I have seen the more welcoming nature of the Mayer community versus the Frusciante community.
Yeah, and I think, I definitely want to revisit the whole Frusciante thing once the album comes out and we start seeing gear, just because it's fun and I'm passionate about it and I want to talk about it. And a lot of amazing people that I have met still ask me, oh, you used to talk about John Frusciante, like, are you bringing that back? And I've given my word. I'm been on the record saying, yes, I am going to talk about that stuff. And there are people who, at least on my end, want to, hear my opinion on stuff, which is crazy that anyone cares what some dude in Canada has to say about some guy who plays guitar in some band. But
that's all YouTube is, pretty much. It's just listening to other people's opinions and bullshit.
Well, it's amazing. Like looking at Rhett Shaw. I remember when Rhett Shaw first came out, and I was kind of like, okay, who's this guy? It's kind of cool what he does. And now look at him. It's insane. Like what his channel has become. And I watch his videos regularly, except the one with Marty Shorts and doing the Sob Rock listening thing.
I did watch it, and it wasn't the better video for me. I got maybe 3/4 of the way through. I was like, all right, I'm tapping out.
I watched the first little bit, and then I'm calling it here. I love Rhett Show. He's amazing at everything he does, but that one just didn't hit the mark for me. Being a diehard Mayer fan, I was just kind of like, okay, like just didn't quite hit the mark. But anyways, that's it's amazing, the whole community and stuff like that and everything. Like we say, like I haven't really thought about that way until I mentioned it right now, being like, well, last time Frusciante was active, Continuum was made.
Yeah.
And that's, when you think about it that way, and all the stuff that's happened since then in the Mayer realm compared to the Frusciante realm, it's huge.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely huge. The Mayer thing was still in its infancy, really.
And I mean, Continuum was pretty much where it started taking off big time. So I mean, what was that, 2006 now?
Yeah, and that's when a lot of people really realized, the trail was a thing, but it didn't really get that popularity, that mainstreamness that he had in his solo career. And once Continuum came out, a lot of people, I think, realized, okay, wait a minute, this guy isn't just Your Body's a Wonderland, dude. Yeah, like I'm hearing him play Bold as Love. I'm hearing Gravity. Okay, he's actually like, he's the real deal.
And when I initially got into him, it was that My Body Was a Wonderland was a big hit at the time, and he was just kind of that pop artist, and to an extent still is, but that was, I guess, his public image. So seeing the background to it, and seeing that he's actually a phenomenal blues guitarist, it just wasn't at the forefront for me at the time.
And I think for a lot of people, that's the way it was. That was with me. I had to be maybe 15 when I first discovered John Mayer, so 12 years ago. And one of my best buddies growing up, he's a phenomenal guitar player as well. He got into acoustic. He was phenomenal when we were 15. He's just one of those people who's just naturally talented. He was like, dude, have you seen John Mayer? Like, I was big into, I got 2 Les Pauls on the wall here. Like, Jimmy Page was my idol. Jimmy Page and Slash, that was my thing growing up as a kid. And that was all I wanted to listen to, like that, like Jimmy Page, Slash, Joe Perry, like that was kind of like my thing, that kind of rock. He's like, dude, you got to listen to John Mayer. I was kind of like, what? Like, what are you on about? Like, you're the same way. You love Carlos Santana, and you love, Joe Perry and Jimmy Page and all these, people. I'm like, what are you on about? And he's like, dude, go out and buy Where the Light Is, the DVD, watch Neon, the first song. And he's like, if you don't like love it, there's something wrong with you. So I was like, okay. Got Where the Light Is. I think my dad actually bought me Where the Light Is. Shout out, Dad. I put the DVD in my DVD player, sat down. He played Neon, and holy shit.
Yep. That whole intro in itself for that show was fantastic.
The same thing. I was like, this guy's Your Body Is a Wonderland. And I knew he'd done a little bit of poppy blues, but I wasn't anything crazy. And I watched Neon, and then I sat down and I watched the whole thing in its entirety. Like, I didn't stop. And by the end of it, I was hooked. I was trying to figure out everything I could about John Mayer. I think like probably it would have been a couple years later, but I got my Mayer 6 Strat. And stuff like that. And, that's when the whole kind of train went on, but it took years to actually get to become a gearhead, like up until, more recently than I'd probably rather admit. I thought a fuzz pedal was a fuzz pedal, and a distortion pedal was a distortion pedal. My board was really just one of every variety of pedal you ever could want on the floor, in probably the worst order possible. And then one of my good buddies from high school, him and I ended up jamming at their jam pad. He plays in a band, semi-professionally. They play gigs and stuff like that. And he saw my pedals and he's like, dude, no, try out my board. And I tried that out, and same thing. That just, after a lull of not really being that big into it, just occasionally playing like a couple times a week, like for 5-10 minutes, got me right back into it. And then
now you're a junkie like the rest of us.
And now I'm on here.
Yeah. And it was pretty much the same for me. Like I obviously grew up with Frusciante, and I was listening to Hendrix, and my dad always had classic rock playing at the house. And once I got into Frusciante, it was like, okay, well, I need the next pedal to get this new sound. And then it was the Boss DS2, and then it was the Line 6 FM4, and then it was a wah, and it just slowly progressed from there. And then I had a massive board that I was just playing at home with that I really had no business having, and it just from there progressed into this behind me, and that's not even all of them, sadly. But it's taken up a lot of my money, let's just say that.
And you know what, it's when you find a wife or a girlfriend who's supportive of what you do, hold on, guys. Hold on. Like I texted my girlfriend, she's been out of town, and she was like, oh, so what you got going on this week? And I was like, so remember how we talked about me? She knows I'm a diehard Mara fan, and she's picking it up. She's picking it up now. Like, she's listened to Sob Rock the day it released. Like, she's been in Los Angeles visiting family because she hasn't been able to see them since, the world kind of went to pot. But she was like, oh, I'm listening to Sob Rock. She's like, I know you mentioned you wanted another Silver Sky. Like, I think you should get one. And I was like, well, funny you ask. And then it's pretty much me sending a picture of
you with it.
Look what you showed up at the door today. And she just laughed, and she was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, I'm so happy for you. I know you've wanted another one for a while. And guys, if you find someone like that, hold on, because that's incredible. No, my wife is incredibly supportive, so I definitely appreciate that, because this is the world's most expensive freaking hobby. And I always have a package coming at the door, either people sending me pedals or me ordering new gear. And my wife she always gives me that, like, that, not the death stare, but the, like, really, like, you got another pedal. But at least it's also for your business with Vagabond Audio. You're building people's stuff, so you have stuff coming in that's then going to be going out as part of your business. Me, it's just stuff coming in, and you don't know if it's leaving or not.
Yeah, right.
At least you got that.
For me, it's like half of it's for me, half of it's for clients. So it's just kind of, for her, it's like a crapshoot of like, is this going to stay or is this going to somebody? And it's gotten to the point now where I have a contractor coming out to renovate my garage this week, because I'm turning into a full-blown home studio. Because over the last 3 months with, working with different companies, and then, the pedalboard business, and now this, I have very quickly outgrown this space that I'm in. And you can't see it around me, but this whole room is in shambles right now. Like, there's cables everywhere and everything. I'm trying to hide it, but I've just very quickly outgrown
that's why
it.
You guys are only seeing my thing too up this
from the on
every YouTube video. Every YouTube video I put out is from here up. It's not just because I want to be closer to the camera. It's it's as well. To hide all the mess that my life is in right now. So and I'm going to be doing that soon. So my setup will get better. But the amount of gear I have, it's time. I got to upgrade. But it's all part of growing, man. And hey, that's great. That's great to hear that. It's just moving on to the next stage, going nowhere but up.
Yep, exactly. But I do want to ask you, so the John Mayer Gear Lounge, obviously that's become a bigger thing for you now. So at its inception, like what was I'm sure I know what the driving force behind it was, but how did it start really?
So it started because, and I don't like to, no, I'll go there. Screw it. So it started because we, like, mainly the group of people who run the Gear Lounge with me, now at least, we all were very highly active on this forum called My Stupid Mouth. And that was kind of like, if you knew, you knew about it, but it wasn't something that a lot of people talked about too much. And I mean, I'm saying it now, it's like public information, like people are always more than welcome to join, but that was kind of the main thing for a few years that we were all on talking about John Mayer's gear. And there's a lot of people on there posting crazy, side shots of his concert, like, oh, he's like at Amsterdam night 1, here's one angle of his board. At night 2, here's his amp settings. The amount of detail was insane. And the form though itself is not the best for communicating with people and just sharing content. It's rather rugged, and it's not even as streamlined as Reddit. So it's rather difficult. And we all were talking, we were like, well, some of them were in a Facebook group called the John Mayer Gear page, and they're like, the rest of you guys should come in and join. So it's a private group. In order to get in, you had to answer 2 questions. And the one question was, what guitar does John make with PRS, or whatever the hell it was? And I put in Silver Sky, duh. And then one of the admins messaged me back saying, when you lose the duh and the smartass attitude, we'll let you in.
Seriously?
And of course, me being who I am, I was a bartender for 7 years. I don't take shit from anyone in that regard at all. Like, I've dealt with enough people like at the bar being rude and disrespectful for me to be like, I know I have my way of dealing with that. So of course the conversation went the one way it was on my end was gonna go. And then he just blocked me from he just blocked me himself, but I could still like kind of creep the group. So at that point I was talking with a few people, and I just sent them screenshots of kind of like what happened, and everyone was laughing. And a lot of people had voiced that they felt that group wasn't the best, most nurturing place anyway. Like, they didn't allow people to post videos and stuff like that. And even there was people who would like be like, oh, like we don't see people playing like slow dancing like super shittily who just picked up a guitar or something like that. Like, if we want to see John play because he's the best, and we don't care how you guys play, which isn't the best for forming a nice community. And that's one thing with the John Mayer Gear Lounge that we're very big on, is it being a safe space. If you just became a fan of John Mayer and went out and bought yourself a Squire or whatever the hell it is, and you want to plug into your I don't think Crate doesn't make amps anymore. That's just from my childhood, what the kind of box amp you bought was.
Like the little Fender Frontman amps.
Exactly. You have one of those things, and you want to plug in and you want to try playing slow dancing or gravity or whatever the hell it is from John, and you want to post and just share in our group, go ahead, and we encourage that. And it makes me so happy to see we've had people like that who are like, hey, like, I just got into playing guitar, and John's one of my biggest inspirations, and here's my progress on learning Helpless or whatever it might be. And that is so great. And everyone's so supportive. And the moment anyone's like, dude, you suck or whatever, like, there's the door, like, no tolerance. So anyways, I was chatting with a few people like that, and I heard some of those stories. And my good buddy Ahmad, shout out Ahmad, and Hazier as well. They were both like, like kind of jokingly, we all were like, oh, we should start our own group kind of thing. And then after a few days, that joke kind of turned into, wait a minute, like, why don't we? Like, how hard can it be to run a Facebook group? Turns out it's very hard. It's a lot of work. So we ended up forming it, and then we sent it with the people who were in that group, then kind of were like, hey, everyone, like, there's also this group that just formed, and we all promoted it on our social medias. Like, Alejandro promoted it on John Mayer Gear, on Instagram a few times. I promoted it on mine. Everyone did. And like people like the London Guitarist who have like decent followings, like everyone who promoted it, it kind of quickly grew and surpassed the other group right away. And kind of like we say, the activity level we're at now is insane. The amount of people who post, like, we get probably like 25-30 posts a day, and then we have ones that we just delete because they're deemed off topic or not relevant and stuff like that. So it's crazy how like it formed, and just out of the love for wanting to actually build a community for people to feel safe about posting videos of themselves playing, and even for a few of us who run it, I know myself personally, like I'd never say I'm the best player or anything like that, but in a group I'd probably never post myself playing because we're all human, we're all self-conscious and stuff like that. For me to be able to even feel like that, where it's like, like this community, we're all friends here, we're all here for the same reason, no judgment, no nothing, like, like, it's, if we ever give any advice, it's constructive and trying to help people out. So that's kind of how it formed and the direction we wanted to take it, and we've been happy to say successful in that. And if anyone's watching, please come join, we'd love to have you.
You know, it's been great, and I'm always seeing the encouragement on there. People post a video where they just, hey, I got this new pedal, and I'm always like, awesome, you're gonna love it, whatever. So it is great in that. And so have you guys, I guess, absorbed the other group, being that now it's kind of surpassed it?
Yeah, I mean, we've surpassed it. It's, you know, it's kind of funny, like, and I got nothing against the people who ran the other group, obviously, you know, it is what it is, and it's over a year ago now, but I definitely, you know, disagree with the way it was being ran, and some of, you know, the attitudes people in that group and running the group took towards it and stuff like that, which is totally fine. I mean, you know, you run your group your way, I'll run my group my way. It's just, you know, so we did absorb a good chunk of that group, and I don't pay attention to it anymore, but some people will mention, they'll be like, oh, like, you know, like I came over from this group, and they'll message me, but like there was maybe like a couple posts every once in a while, like not a lot of activity and stuff, and just due to its nature being as restricted as well, which is fair. If they want to talk about just John Mayer's gear himself and, you know, clips of him playing, that's kind of like what MSM was, just with a lot better information, in my opinion. Which is totally fine, but this is, you know, it's more for players and for people. And so, you know what, yeah, nothing against the people and no hard feelings at all anymore, but we've kind of taken over as the number one group on Facebook for that stuff. And yeah.
Oh, and I'm glad to see that, because like I said, I've watched it grow, and being a member myself, and it's been interesting watching it, because I don't know, it started like obviously from nothing, and then it's grown into something that's incredibly active. And from what I've seen, you guys are doing a good job at filtering everything, and I see like the admin posts, and you know, people posting stuff that's off topic and everything, and it's great watching it, I guess, objectively. So you guys are doing a fantastic job with that.
And thanks, Vince. It's like I said, it's hard work, and you get the odd bonehead, to put it that way,
yeah,
in the group. And, you know, conflict does sometimes arise between, you know, members and stuff like that, and it's always tricky to navigate, but generally we're very swift-handedly. And it's, you know, if you're not here for the right reasons, or, you know, if you're being, you know, a bit arrogant and not like, you know, providing anything constructive and just posting to show off and brag, and not like actually be like, you know, contributing to the community, and you're like arrogant and kind of putting people down, like we'll just let you go. Like,
yeah,
you know, so there's not this,
you don't have room for that. There's no reason for it.
And like, you know, life is too short, and, you know, I put in way too much time, I feel like, already into running a Facebook group out of my day, where it's like I don't have time to deal with this crap that's, you know, apart from all the rest of the things running a group. And there's only, I think, 10 of us who run a group of almost 4,000 people. And luckily we have people spread across in all different time zones. So like when I'm asleep, we have people in the UK who are up, and they can kind of keep a partially watchful eye while they're working and, you know, living their lives. But, you know, it's been an experience, like I said, to run a group and stuff like that.
And then aside from that, you're dealing with all the other assholes on YouTube who are giving you shit about one thing or another, and it's like dealing with all that it's just, you don't have time for the extra bullshit or any arrogant behavior or anything like that. It's unnecessary.
YouTube is the most, I think Reddit is probably the most toxic place on the internet.
Yeah.
But YouTube is close behind. And, you know, like you have to take like these comments you get with a grain of salt. And, you know, like remember to, you know, some people might be like 13 to 14 or commenting on like your video and stuff like that, and like they could have been like, you know, not saying that I wouldn't have done this, but like, you know, someone who would have been like my age back when I was just a Jimmy Page / fan, starting to get into John Mayer, and you're a bit, you know, like, okay, this guy's a bit over the top with what he's saying and doing and stuff. And I think people who at least watch my channel forget that, you know, I'm not necessarily doing it for the millions of people on YouTube. I'm doing it for the 4,000 some people we have in our Facebook group who want this information and are asking me for it. I do it for, you know, the people on Instagram who message me asking me these questions, and now who are like, hey, could you do a video on this? Could you talk about this? I am interested in what you want to hear about that. I do it for those people. So, you know, if someone comes in and comments, you know, oh, what the hell? And like, and I'd like this past week, I've gotten a couple, you know, rather you just kind of shake your head at like
Mhm.
what is wrong with the people who are saying these things. And Brett Shaw and Zach on Dipped and Tone on their podcast,
Yeah.
they did an episode where Brett actually gets pretty, you know, honest about how even this year he mentioned that he debated just shutting down his whole channel and killing things off. And that was heartbreaking to hear for number one, for someone like his, you know, success
his
and
level
everything.
That's still dealing with the same shit. Yeah.
And for it to hit him that hard where he'll say, you know, I've had weeks that are gone. And, you know, just because mentally it's exhausting, like between the algorithm and, you know, the paper plane going down, as he mentioned. And I had a great laugh at that. And then just the people on the gear page or on YouTube who are, you know, talking shit about him and just being honestly just shitty people. And there's no other word for it. And, you know, to hear his story really helped me out and be a bit more prepared too for, you know, this isn't going to end once I hit, you know, 3,000 subs or 5,000 or 10. It's always going to be a thing. And, you know, it's funny, like, and he even says to him and Zach and even Josh from JHS has said, oh, if you're like in their, one of their pod or like live streams, they even say, you know, if you're just being mean, I got a happy, I forget the gentleman who, does their moderating, but he was like, I got a happy trigger finger and no, I'm just going to block you if, you know, you're being,
Joshua.
Joshua and stuff like that. He's hilarious.
Yep.
And so and hearing people like that even say that and just be like, no, like I'll just, you know, remove you or whatever. Like, again, that prepared me to be like, you know what, I just gotta do that. And, you know, this week I mentioned I had actually a couple like nasty comments. Like, I'm not going to say what they were, but a couple of comments that I was like, you know, the only intent here is just to be a troll and honestly to be like mean and just like try and like put someone down. And like, I think a lot of it stems from obviously how that person is feeling and what's going on in their own lives and just jealousy. You know, my friend, the London guitarist, gets a lot of hate and he gets shit on quite a lot too, because people see a guy with his collection, which is phenomenal. Go follow him.
The most impressive Mayer collection I've ever seen.
He's got a 1 of 83 John Cruz. He's got the gear. He's got the 1 of 83 John Cruz Master Build Black One replicas. He's got a John Mayer Signature 2 Rock, among a lot of other stuff. People see that and they just get jealous and they're like, oh, you know, oh, this guy played, you know, 0.001 seconds out of tempo. You suck. You should sell your gear and you don't deserve to have all that. That's pretty much the way people treat someone like him too, even, right? Just because they see that and they just get jealous. And I think that happens a bit too, you know, and they don't maybe understand or have the capacity to understand that I'm doing this to educate people. And, you know, every time I get like a nasty comment, I sit there and I'm just like, oh, really? Like, you know, 7, however many billion people in the world, you know, a percentage of them are going to be shitty and a percentage of them are going to be on YouTube, right?
And especially doing something public like this, you can't please everybody. That's why, like, just for the podcast alone, like, we don't, if you get offended, go somewhere else. We don't care. Like, I don't have time for that. I don't deal with like if you're here just to waste my time and piss me off, then I'm not going to pay any attention to you. Like, I've got more shit to do. So I don't know, there's no reason for it.
Exactly. You know what, like at the end of the day, it's kind of like, well, okay, I can, you know, be upset about it and stop what I'm doing and, you know, call it a day and they win. Or I can keep going. And even if it's not the nicest comment, but there is some sort of criticism in there, can I take that objectively and be like, okay, you know what? Is there something is there somewhere, if you dig deep enough there, is there something that I could have actually done better that he might be somewhat right about? You know, it can be objective that way. And then too, it's like, you know, every time I usually get a bad comment, the next thing I check to update and check my comments, I'll get someone being like, dude, like, thank you so much for this, or, you know, this is a great video, like, keep it up. And that's what keeps you going. And the amount of positivity obviously overweighs, you know, the amount of negativity. I'm almost at 3,000 subscribers now, which is just crazy. So, you know, the amount of support,
you never think you'll hit that much.
I remember when this is going to be a slight tangent, but oh well. Last night, actually, I was thinking about this because I haven't actually thought about like my career on YouTube that much until, you know, thinking about coming on today. And when I was 13, my best friend and I growing up, we were in junior high school here in Canada. we made YouTube videos, and back when Halo 3 was a big thing, we did a thing called hidden lead gaming, which was you get the lead and then you'd go glitch into these hiding spots and hide. And we'd upload videos, like streams of us doing that back when, you know, that wasn't like streams weren't really a thing, but machinima was big. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And we hit 100 subscribers, and that was incredible. Our one video got like 8,000 views, and we were losing our minds. We thought that was viral.
It's like, oh my God, I'm famous.
Exactly. And so, you know, I went back, and that channel's still active, or like not, it's still going. Like we haven't been on it since that year we did it. But I went back and just looked, and, you know, I've always been a fan of doing this stuff. And at least, you know, now I'm doing something where it's taking off, and I'm actually taking a passion of mine. And, you know, I mean, I'd love to be, you know, where one day something like this could be a bit more of a career instead of, you know, it was something just guitar and music related, could be a bit more of a career rather than, you know, working my regular job, what I went to school for.
Yeah.
So
I guess just to shift a little bit, obviously Sob Rock just came out. It's huge. So what are your thoughts on it, considering Mayer's career so far?
This one
is a loaded question, but I'm interested to really hear your thoughts on it.
I don't think it's loaded on my end. On a lot of other people, it would be. I think for a lot of people, they're still holding on to Continuum and the trio, and they're hoping that we're going to get another album like that. And if you can get past that and accept that that's never going to happen, you know, your level of expectance, at least for what we know Mayer is technically capable of doing, is a lot lower, because, you know, we've peaked. He's even said it, we've peaked. We're just doing our thing now, and, you know, living in the moment and what he wants to vibe with. And number one, I think people have to remember that and respect it. You know, all the people who are tarnishing the new album, well, did you go out and, you know, win 7 or however many Grammys he's won now? Did you go out and, you know, write these songs for all these other artists that, you know, he's done? Kind of stuff like that, right? So it's, you know, number one, remember where you come from. And, you know, yes, like we all listen to music, we can critique it, but the amount of hate the album is getting that I've seen is a bit extreme. But it's kind of like Born and Raised, where people hated it at first, and then all of a sudden people are turning around. But I find people turning around instead of years later, like weeks later.
Yeah.
Like I take guitar lessons. I have a guitar teacher. His name's Al. He's just incredible. So just to up my theory, because, you know, I saw this one meme on, I think, Blues Lawyers, where it was like from 2.5 Men. It was like Alan being like, oh, I think I forgot something. And it says guitar player. And then Charlie Sheen was like, well, if you forgot it, it wasn't that important. And then he's like, oh yeah, you're probably right. And then Jake left at his
the rain,
being like guitar theory. I'm trying not to be that guy. So I'm taking lessons to get, you know, just to better my playing and everything. And the day after it came out was when I had my lesson, and I was like, oh, what do you think about it? And you see, knows obviously I'm a massive John Mayer head. And he was like, you know, I'm not digging it. I just don't vibe with it. Fast forward 1 week later, this week, whenever it was when we had our last lesson, I think it was this week. You know what, Justin? I love that record. It's amazing. And so the people are turning around, and, you know, you just needed time to live with it. And I think a lot of people have an issue with why you know Love Me. See, I was almost going to mess it up there.
Me too. Yeah, I'm one of those.
But the melody underneath it is brilliant. I think it's just
for me, honestly, I think it's just the title of the song. I think that annoys me. The song itself isn't bad, but I cannot get past the title. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but geez, from the second I saw that title on the album, I was like, oh, okay. And I heard it, and it's not a bad song by any means. It's just the title for me just annoys me.
I saw that too. I actually saw a leaked track list way before even Last Train Home had come out. Someone sent me it was like a promotional vinyl where like they had flipped it front and back, and you could see the actual full track list. And I saw Why You Know Love Me on it, and was like, I guess
This is different.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And on the album, isn't my favorite song. No, it's probably my least favorite, but to have the guts to put out a song like that, I got mad respect for it. And even like John said, he's doing his own thing now. He's not really making music to be not necessarily relevant anymore to win any more Grammys. He's just making what he wants to do. And I don't think a lot of artists in his genre, like you could get like rap artists and stuff, like hip hop artists who make songs like that, like they can get away with that kind of,
because it fits the genre
thing. Exactly, it fits the genre. This doesn't fit his genre. And for him to go out there and still do it, I mean, that was nuts. And I think the album, to bring it back around, the album as a whole, I really like. When I first heard Last Train Home personally, that skyrocketed to being one of the favorite John Mayer songs that has come out in a very long time, maybe even more so than anything off of The Search for Everything or Heavier Things. I'm one of those guys who does not like Born and Raised or Paradise Valley. Like, just to say not like is maybe the wrong word, but they rank in the bottom of my albums. I'm one of those weird people.
See, Born and Raised for me was when that was like my peak of getting into Mayer, and I love it. I know it's a huge departure from what he's done, but I love that album. Paradise Valley, I had a harder time getting along with, but I enjoy it. That's just me though.
And there's nothing, again, there's nothing, of course, there's nothing wrong with, you like what you like. I think maybe for me too, I still hold on to, okay, I became a John Mayer fan in 2010 after Battle Studies. I missed the boat on seeing him on tour. He came in my city even. I think it's the only time he's ever been to my city since. Missed the boat on that. And I was like, okay, well, you know what? Hopefully he puts a new album. And then, 2012 rolls around, he puts an album. And I'm expecting, back then at least, I was expecting Continuum and kind of Battle Studies 2.0.
Yeah.
And then I got that. I remember listening to it being like, what the hell is this? I thought that, I was like, did someone upload the wrong album to like Apple Music, iTunes? Like, what the hell is this? This is not what I was expecting. And maybe subconsciously, a part of me still holds on to that like massive letdown that I had when that came out. And like, Love is a Verb, I think is an amazing song. I really like that one. I really do like Shadow Days. I like Queen. Like, I like the songs on there, but to me still it ranks lower, if any of this makes sense for anyone listening.
No, and it's fair. I mean, your expectation is, Continuum, Battle Studies, and then you're given this folky singer-songwriter thing. And it's like,
and I've never been a fan of that genre ever, personally.
No, and neither have I. And it took a few months for me to get into the album, but now it's always on a playlist that I have going on in the car. But
it's a great driving album. Like if you're going on like if my girlfriend and I, we go on a road trip out to or one of our cabins, Born and Raised usually comes on and we'll listen to it because it's a great. But now the new road trip album is Sob Rock.
Yep.
And it's just it's total 80s. I love it.
So what's your opinion on that kind of 80s revival? Because obviously Mayer's gone through his phases, the blues thing, then the singer-songwriter, and now kind of taking this, sort of 80s approach, which really isn't being done anymore. So I guess what's your take on that?
There's two ways to look at this, I think. I mean, my take is that we all have a lot of albums from the 80s that we love and won't ever forget. Like, just think of a couple albums from the 80s that you're like, those are great albums, and I'll listen to those albums probably to the day I die. I think Mayer, the logic that he put in it, where if he was alive, well, I guess he was alive in the late 80s, but if he had written an album in 1988, shelved it, and then released it in 2021, what would that album sound like? I think he nailed it in that regards.
Because I listened to it a few times, and it took a couple of times for me to really get into the album, and I really do think he's got that 80s vibe nailed down pretty well. With the CE2 alone, kind of gave that whole album its vibe.
That little blue bastard of a pedal,
I know,
is giving me so much headache.
I know. I can't imagine how many posts you've gotten about that So I know was it your last video? I think was where you did the live stream for the Sob Rock playthrough, and you finally admitted, okay, yeah, it was a CE2. So I can only imagine in the weeks leading up to that, like, oh yeah, what is he using now?
Well, because I made a video before we'd even heard Last Train Home. We'd only had
About the
snippets
CE2, yeah.
about the CE2, and it was, YouTube guys, YouTube marketing, clickbait is all about YouTube marketing. You make an enticing title and an enticing thumbnail, people are more likely to click on it and then watch your video. It's your responsibility to make them want to stay after you clickbait them in. Clickbaiting is marketing, and you know what? Like, it's part of the game. So don't hate the player, hate the game. If I made just a true thumbnail and a title that, was way more true to the video, I'd get a quarter of the views.
Yeah.
So in order to survive and grow on YouTube, you do what you got to do. So don't hate the player, hate the game. So, I made a video talking about, is this the new key to Mayor's album or whatever it was? And it was me holding a CE2. And the video topic essentially was me talking about how John has ramped up his use of chorus since really 2017. And a lot of people forget that, we hadn't really heard chorus on a record since Helpless. There was a slight chorus on the solo. And then live, he used the full tone TREC rack unit for a lot of his chorus during that tour. 2019, he started experimenting with a lot of different chorus pedals for almost every, you and I talked about this when you did your phenomenal Free the Tone demo for the Tri-Avatar, how he started using that one. And he used the CE2 actually during that tour. That's when it started, was the very first leg of 2019. And a lot of people too, I think, forget that. No. He's been using it for 3 years now almost and stuff like that. So I talked about that. And then I was like, okay, based on the clips we've heard of Last Train Home, clearly that lead guitar, there's chorus on it, like no doubt. Yeah. The vibe and everything that we've been getting is 80s themed. Chorus is big in the 80s. I'm going to take a shot in the dark here and say that the album's going to be full of chorus. Yeah. No pun intended. And it just was a fun video to be like, guys, like, you know what, like, take one guy's word for it who, it's just one guy who plays guitar and likes John Mayer. When you get down to the bottom of it, I'm going to say that I think the album's going to be full of chorus. It's an 80s themed album. And if I had to guess at what chorus pedal he's going to be using, I want to say he's going to use his Boss CE2 based off, X, Y, and Z. This is what his history. And, the last time we saw him with chorus pedal, kind of the sound too, that the chorus he was getting doesn't sound totally like a tri-chorus, but my friend Ahmad and Brian, actually, they did a demo comparing a CE2 to the Tri-Avatar, and you can get the Tri-Avatar 99.9% of the way there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you don't need a CE2, but I pretty much just said, okay, I'm betting personally that he's going to be using the CE2. We'll see what happens if we ever get to find out. And, if you want to take my word for it and, go get yourself a CE2 before they possibly go, feel free to, but it's just my opinion. It's just my opinion. And it's just a guess. At the end of the day, he could use anything. That's just what I personally think. Then he comes out in that live stream from Christian James Hand at the session IG Live. And he said, I used the CE2 in the studio. That's what I've been using live. I called it.
I should have listened to you before, because I had a CE2 in my cart. And I was like, can I drop the money right now? And I'm sure they've probably skyrocketed since, but
I don't think they have actually. I haven't been paying that much attention to them, but I think they've just been selling a lot more than they have. Like, I still see people post in the Gear Lounge, oh, like, I got a C2, is this a good price? And don't, like, just do your research, pay market value.
Yeah. No, I'm not going crazy. Like, I just want a regular CE2.
And I keep trying to tell people, I can't necessarily say why I know this for a fact, but John doesn't use like the long dash silver screw ultra uber rare one that everyone wants. It's a short dash. Okay. CE2 black screw. Okay. I can't say why I know that for a fact. You know why I know that for a fact, but I can't say that on here why I know that for a fact. So you don't need like the fancy one that people for brand new will ask like what, probably like 800 US or something like that for like stupid amounts of money for. Like, no. Just go for a made in Japan green label or black label, black screw short dash CE2. The Taiwan ones are slightly different. I just would personally go for Japan because I feel like that's what John would do as someone who's into gear himself. He'd probably just go.
And even just those Boss pedals made in Japan were just a little bit better.
Yeah, exactly. Just a little bit better and stuff like that. Go for that. But yeah, you don't need to go out and get like the crazy CE2. I promise you, that's not even what he's using. Even though like any CE2 will do the thing. You don't, for wanting it for John's thing, you don't need the expensive one. That's not what he has.
They're going for what, 200 to 250 on Reverb right now.
Yeah, that's which is nice. It hasn't seen an increase. I mean, you know, and going back to the John Mayer Gear Lounge and like my YouTube here for a second, we also kind of have a responsibility to not hype up gear and not try and push the market because this was a runner-up for the pick of the gear day, but I'm not going to talk about this at the end here because this pedal John has started using, the 29 pedals Una, and a few of us knew about this right after he started using it live on Jimmy Kimmel, and we didn't say anything for a while because number one, let's wait and see if he uses it more. And sure enough, we did. We've seen it on every board since. It's even on the Dead and Company board, rehearsal board as well. So he's liking it clearly. But we didn't want to talk about it because if you know, and in the video I made breaking down the gear that he used for Jimmy Kimmel, a lot of people were mad because, oh, well, you didn't say everything that was on the pedal board. And I was like, well, I don't really want to right now.
Yeah.
I'm just going to play dumb. I know that's a 29 pedals unit. I'm not going to say it is because I don't want people all of a sudden going out and buying these things because these things already go for a lot more than they do in a retail for Reverb because it's a small company in LA that builds them. And, you know, you like 9-week wait lead time at Anderton's right now, I believe, for one.
Jeez. See, and I was talking to, I believe I want to say his name's Jesse. It's been a little while since I talked to him. But I talked to him about a month or two ago and he was going to send me one. We were going to have him come on the podcast as well. And he said things kind of blew up a little bit and he got super busy. So I'm guessing that probably has something to do with it now looking back. But I mean, it is a fantastic pedal, but
stupid good.
I mean, I think it's probably only him building them, having a flood of people come in because Mayer touched the pedal. It's great for him for business, but I'm sure his life is a little hectic right now.
And and there's a fine line between, you know, overhyping up a pedal that John has used or then being like, okay, yes, this is what he's using, you know, and here's what he's using it for. I'm not going to hype it up and say that this is going to be groundbreaking for John's rig. You know, I do personally think it's brilliant. It's it's on par with Pete Cornish buffers. That's how good the buffer in it is, which Pete Cornish makes some of the best buffers on earth. He just does. You know, the band EQ is brilliant in what it does with the boost and everything. Having an effects loop for your fuzz pedals or other buffered pedals is super smart. And the whatever power, Brian Colglen, shout out to another person that we know. He's a guy who builds and designs amps and pedals too, kind of for fun, but he's become more professionally doing it. He's the Tone Geek, if you've heard of him. He called the whatever power groundbreaking. And it's true because you literally just plug in whatever. It doesn't matter. AC, DC,
doesn't matter.
9 volts, 35 volts, 100 milliamps, whatever. Does not matter. And it's designed to take anything. So you don't got to stress about number one, blowing it, or number two, like, oh, I gotta get this. Yeah. You know, we've all been there, right? Especially if you're a John Frusciante fan. You're like, okay, this is AC, like, you know, that nightmare.
It's a fucking headache.
to power pedals. So this is the exact opposite. Okay. And they've trademarked it, which is great. Yeah, no, that's brilliant as well. I love it. On my personal pedal board is where it lives. It's just my personal pedal board's kind of in shambles right now. But but the point being is that, we knew that this is what he was using, and we didn't talk, I didn't talk about it for a while. And then Alejandro and I both teamed up and planned a post where I was going to make a video on Monday morning at 12 p.m. Central. He was going to make a post, and we'll mention it, but we're not going to overhype it up, and we're not going to try and, open up the floodgates of people selling it. Like, I think that if the fine line is that, if you're a builder and John starts using your pedal, people should talk about it because that's what he's using. And if someone like John decides your pedal is worthy of being on his pedal board, that's like the biggest kudos and pat on the back you could almost get in the world.
Yeah, for sure. Especially an independent builder.
Yeah. So, I think that that's, it's a fine line between, the recognition of, if he's using it and using it more than once, clearly he's liking it.
Mm-hmm.
It's clearly a great pedal, and, people probably should go out and buy it if, but at the same time, not overhyping it and not trying to convince people to buy it when they might not necessarily need it or understand. Like, we've had people in the group before buy a Smoky Signal tubeless overdrive or other pedals.
I saw the whole thing about that. Yeah.
And then I don't want to get into that at all, but the point being, we've had people buy things and spend their hard-earned cash and then come around and be like, okay, well, what does John use this for? And it's like, so you spent a lot of money and then you don't even know what this thing does. And it's just like, and that's not just in that case. It's happened before where people, will buy things, and then because there's a hype train is the point. Yeah. And then they'll come in and be like, oh, well, what does this thing do? Not talking about the Smoky Signal case, but just people have come in and been like, oh, I bought this, like, what song does John use this for? Even if they buy like a chorus pedal, or they buy, whatever it might be, right? Like, even the new Neighbor Slate, they might see he's using it and be like, oh, what does he use this for? Just like more extra reverb. And it's like, no, that's love on the weekend in a pedal. Mm-hmm. So, I think that, people get caught up in the hype train and, buy things before fully understanding what they are for. And, if you need that and if you want it,
Well, and then you get into the whole, scalper sort of thing where, like, a Klon or whatever the case is, whatever, that's like, there's a hype behind it, and now it's going for 3 times what it's actually worth. And it's so irritating, because now I'm sure that's going to happen with the CE2 here in the next couple of weeks or months. And it makes it so much more difficult to actually get decent gear just because Mayer touched it. And, in that IG live, he says he blacked out his pedals so that way he's not raising the price on shit just because he wants to try something out. So I genuinely appreciate that. Yeah.
And then again, that's kind of like with what I do. It's a fine balance of not wanting to go and blow out, being like, oh, I discovered the one blacked out pedal John is using. Like, oh my God, this is a major thing. Like, no, I'm just gonna probably wait a bit and then say what it is and move on. Like with the 2019 World Tour pedal board, that's when everything was really blacked out.
Yeah.
And I won't ever make a video being like, oh my God, the mystery of the blacked out pedal solved. Like, watch this. Like, when I did my board build video, I just said, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Like,
if you don't hype it up and make it a big thing, then people are just like, oh, okay, it's that pedal, whatever. And if they like it, they'll get it. But if you turn it into this big, almost like you were saying, like almost like a clickbait title, like, oh my God, this mystery has been solved, then it's going to start driving prices up.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think it's that John cares about people knowing what he uses, because he's done a rig rundown before. He's, posted pictures of his pedal board and gear before onto his own Instagram. That's not, I don't think, what he is. And if he really genuinely cared just about people not knowing what he's using, he'd run his Bradshaw system, have everything in the rack behind, like where you can't even see the rack at all. Then that'd be the end of it. Like, you'd have no idea. He'd have just like, you'd never get a picture close enough to even read what the controller markers were. Yeah, that'd be the end of it. So it's not that he doesn't care about people knowing what he has. So, if I go and say, okay, that's what that is, I don't think at that level he'd care. What he'd care about is, again, like you say, like doing a clickbait title, like really overly hyping it up and making it a huge deal. And then, that causing, or just people going on Reverb, then being like, oh, John used the Chase Bliss Audio Tonal Recall Red Knob mod for part of the 2019 World Tour. You can't buy them new anymore, like in store, like their demand is so crazy for them. I'm gonna ask $1,000 for it. because John used it. People would try and do that with the CE2, with the TS. It's happening with the TS10.
Yep.
He's been adding to the Clonfire.
Yeah, and they're successful in it with the scalpers. Like people, they're the only ones that are available are costing that much, and people want them, so they're going to buy them. So it just kind of feeds the fire.
So I think that's why he's doing it.
Yeah,
and I got mad respect for that.
And I do have it on good authority that John is very well aware of the gear hype on his gear and the amount of interest people take in his blacked out pedals. And he just finds it entertaining. Like there's nothing behind it. It's just he thinks it's funny, and he keeps a close eye on it.
I wouldn't be surprised if on some level he's seen either something about the gear page. He's seen it.
Yeah,
he's seen Alejandro's page. There's no way.
For sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if he has like a sleeper account just to watch like Alejandro's page or something like that. But like Josh from but like Josh from JHS like has commented on it a lot. Like Bob Bradshaw's commented on Alejandro's page as well. If people that close to him have seen it, there's no way they've been like, "Hey John, did you see like?"
Yeah,
look at this.
He's well aware.
Look at like the 40,000 people on Instagram who are following just a page about your guitar stuff. Yep. Like the shit's maddening and stuff like that. So maybe he's seeing a video. I mean, I was talking with you about this in the green room. I got a message from Keeley Electronics saying they loved my video on Mayor's use of the katana and kind of his history, and they wanted to get in touch with me and chat a bit more and stuff like that, which was that was crazy. That was awesome.
Yeah. It's almost humbling. Like, okay, like I'm doing something that people are actually paying attention to, that people that matter, I guess.
And for Keeley to come and tell me they loved the video, that was all the validation that I needed.
Yeah.
To be like, okay, well, if the guy at the company that I'm talking about saying this, thanks. Like, thank you. That's crazy, for them to give their stamp of approval, because, I always want to be objective and, just tell it like it is, and how like everything I say is my opinion at the end of the day. Take that for, one Canadian guy who likes his Tim Hortons and records videos in his gear corner in his basement talking about gear and giving his opinion. That's at the end of the day what I do. And for the company to say like, hey, we liked what you had to say, and we want to chat with you, who knows where this could go. Like, I won't say like exactly the specifics of the message, but it was a very positive, like, we want to get in contact with you is crazy. It's amazing. It's like, thank you. It's never in my wildest dreams that I think that like something I was doing could, get the recognition of people of that capacity. And even doing the video on the amp history of John, Jensen speakers commented on it saying, hey, we've never seen that one picture you posted of his 2-rock cabinets that were actually from behind, and you could see Jensen speakers in them. They were like, we've never seen that before. And we always had a hunch that he was using them, but we never actually had dead on proof. And so now I've been messaging with those guys back and forth online now, and I have communication with them as well. It's the same thing, just to get, a company like that, just saying, hey, like, this is a great video. Like, just, hey, thanks for getting that information out there, because we didn't even know. It's just that like waking up and seeing stuff like that, like, a message from Keeley or, from Jensen, that makes my day.
Yeah. It's what keeps you going at the end of it.
Or, the people who messaged me like, hey, thank you for the advice or the help, or, the odd time someone like someone yesterday, I'm sorry, I forget his name because I read the post and that was it, but they just commented, hey, thank you to me, they tagged me saying, thank you, Justin, for, giving me the courage and the confidence in the decisions I was making to, build myself a little John Mayer pedalboard. And it's just, I just want to help people, and to have people, acknowledge and be like, hey, like, you are helping and you are giving me information, and whatever it is, that's just that's just, yeah, that makes my day. And it's why I do it.
And it's awesome to see that it's actually working for you.
Exactly, to have evidence that, okay, I am making a difference and I am helping people out, and people, are getting something out of this. So let's keep going.
Well, it seems like a good time to do our weekly segment of Sound Toy of the Week.
Paddle time, do 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 do. Paddle time, rock from me to you.
So Justin, as our guest, I'd like to invite you to go first. Just share a piece of gear that you're playing with now. I'm sure I know what it is already, but I'll let you do the reveal.
I still haven't decided. This is going to be totally spontaneous. I have them just sitting over here, and I'm just going to go out and pick up one. Well, I also have something on my board down here that I was okay. No, I'm just gonna get up. I already showed the 29 pedals unit. That was one of them, but I'm not going to do. It's in the running.
All right. I see. I figured you're gonna walk in a different direction here, but all right.
Yeah, because my pedal cabinet's over there.
Okay. Believe just your newest acquisition.
I don't think I've gotten any. I think the 29 pedals unit is the newest acquisition. Yeah. Okay, you want to talk about that? Okay.
No, whatever you want to share. I'm just saying that's what I figured you were going with.
I'm the guest. I can share whatever the hell I want. If I had to talk about a pedal, it'd probably be the Mark I Green Rhino. This thing is, I've talked about this a lot. It's best tube screamer I personally ever played. Again, one guy in Canada making videos in his basement who's played a few tube screamers. Take that for what you will. Best one I've ever played. I want to get one more of these as just a backup because it's super good. But you know what? Yeah, let's go there. Shout out to my buddy Tommy at Tommy Guitars on Instagram for hooking me up with, this is actually his Mock Sand Satin Silver Sky. I got this in, what's today, Monday. I got it Thursday morning, so I've only had it for a few days. I haven't touched anything else since. The satin finish is gorgeous in person.
It's beautiful. I love that finish.
It's I love it. It's a wicked guitar. I had a Nebula Silver Sky this time last year. Never felt, I was talking with someone on my Instagram, maybe it was Parker, it was Parker. Shout out Parker. I never felt like I owned it because I bought it with the sole intention of keeping it, and then all of a sudden the prices for them just doubled overnight, essentially, and or like what people were willing to pay. And then the hype for the Nebulas ran crazy. And I just kind of sat there and was like, wow, I got now all of a sudden a lot of money sitting here in this guitar. And that never was the intention of buying it. That was actually my university grad present to myself. It's like, hey, you know what? I graduated university. I got a great GPA. I got great grades. I've always wanted a Silver Sky. I'm going to buy it. So I did. And then we don't necessarily call it Nebula Gate, but a guy posted online a picture, and this is just what I saw. A guy posted a picture online of, I think it was, don't quote me on this, but I think it was about here, the paint all chipped off of the Nebula and just the finish underneath, whatever it was showing. And he just mentioned, I just had it in the case and was carrying it around, and that happened. And the poor guy got shit on online because everyone was like, dude, you're full of shit. You're just trying to fearmonger or drive the prices down or whatever the hell he's doing. You had a pick or you had something, you're just trying to build a case to seriously to get your money back from PRS. Right. And that's what people were kind of treating it as. And I feel bad for the guy because you know what, I definitely saw it. I was like, yeah, this guy's full of shit. And he just wants to build, a case, being oh, woe is me, PRS, refinish my guitar. Then my buddy Sam, I'm shouting out a lot of people today. I need a name drop horn. My buddy Sam, Sam Romian, he got a Nebula as well. And he has one of the DiMarzio clip lock straps that John uses. And the plastic of the clip rubbing against here again, chipped away the paint.
Okay.
And I've had that strap on my John Mayer Strat since 2019 when John started using that strap, I think, is when I put it on. Looks like it. There's never been a strap on it. Looks brand new. So after then seeing someone I personally know send me a picture being like, dude, what the is going on? That freaked me out. I'll fully admit. And so at that point, I had accidentally put mark in the guitar. Like I'd accidentally walked it into a chair, is what I did. And on the back side of it, I put or back kind of around that same spot, actually, just underneath a bit more, probably down here. I put a kind of a dent in it. And I emailed PRS. She's been like, hey, there's some people coming out saying that, you know, their Silver Skies paints are flaking if they get a chip or whatever the hell's happening. You know, how much is it going to cost to refinish my Nebula if something goes wrong with it? Because that's still where I was at. You're like, okay, let's figure out how much it costs to get it back to what it looked like new. Then that way I'm not going to care. I'll play it, beat it up. And then, you know, maybe a year or two down the road, I'll send it to them, get it refinished, and repeat that process every like 3 years or whatever. The money was so much that was no way in hell going to be an option. It was just like, I just laughed when I saw the number come back.
Is it just because of the finish on that guitar, or just because it's PRS?
I can't say for certainty what it was. I think it was because of the finish. And because they even said that was the most expensive paint job that they'd come out with ever on a guitar. So the number came back. I won't say the number, but the number came back. And for me personally, it was enough to be like, yeah, no way on God's green earth. Like, not even, I wouldn't even do it once. Yeah. Like, that's just stupid. If anyone pays that, yeah, they got a lot of money and don't give a shit, or, you know.
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah. So then it became, okay. At the time too, we didn't know. Are we all just sitting on, you know, guitars that the finish there might be some flaking? I didn't know. I had no idea. And like now, like looking forward, it's most people's Nebulas seem to be absolutely fine, and it could just be, you know, just shit luck. Yeah, whatever it is. But at the time, I didn't know. So I posted it in the Gear Lounge, and the Gear Lounge was still fairly new. I think this was September last year, early September. And I said, hey, everyone, listen, here's the crossroads I'm at. I'm nervous to pick this thing up and play it. I just genuinely was, because I don't know, like I already put a mark in it, and they told me it shouldn't chip or start to flake away, but they couldn't guarantee even the mark I made could start to cause that. So I was like, I'm just scared, and I'm not enjoying it anymore. So for a while, the guitar hasn't felt like mine. So I listed it in the group and said, tell you what, for a member here, I will give it to you pretty fairly below market value for what these are going for online. This is, at the time, I believe it was the cheapest one to be listed. It was the cheapest one out there for sure. And when it sold for that price, I think it was the cheapest one I'd ever sold for, by a considerable amount. Because I didn't want to come in and like list it for like 8,000 Canadian, which they were up there at the time, 9,000 Canadian. I didn't want to list it for, you know, almost 3 times its value. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. You know what? Like, I'm not going to give it to someone for retail, because, you know, if you really wanted it, it wasn't that hard to call up a signature dealer and get your name on it. It just wasn't. Yeah. So, you know, I'm not going to, you know, not do okay on it, but I'm not going to totally, you know, like, I don't want to take advantage of someone else either. So I had a bunch of people inquire right away, being like, yeah, like I'll buy it. And first person to kind of get in contact with me, his name was Justin too. He sold his Orion to help kind of fund it and stuff like that, and it's his now, and it looks the same as far as I know. Last time I saw it, it looks the same since the day I sold it to him. So it ended up being, but you know, I didn't know. Like, when you're sitting there and you're just like, well, I don't know what's going to happen with it. Like, I've seen posts online that might, you know, I took it as that there might be an issue with the finish. I didn't know. Turns out that was, I think, fine, and just was a couple of odd cases and just, like I said, shit, rotten luck. So I don't think there was anything wrong with the finish, and I don't think people should. I don't think that should deter people from buying flip-flop finish PRSs at all. Like, I don't think.
With a guitar with that kind of finish, as unique as it is, living in constant fear of you screwing it up, I understand, like, not wanting to hold on to it. Like, you just want to put it on the wall and never touch it again.
Yeah, and that's like with any limited edition fancy guitar.
A few moments later.
So I guess, I know we discussed this personally, but comparative to the Strat, I guess what are the major differences, or what things have you noticed?
Comparing to a Strat in general, or are we talking like the Mayor signature one?
Let's go with the Mayor signature.
it feels like a better instrument. I mean, the MRSP of this compared to what that was when I bought it new is almost 1,000 Canadian difference, I think. Don't quote me on that. That was 2012 when I bought that one. But so I mean, you know, from the manufacturer themselves, like it's price pointed at a bit of a higher model. This guitar, I feel like to get the equivalent Fender Strat at this level, you're getting into custom shop territory. Is where I personally feel where that guitar, it feels like a very high-end American Ran Strat. The neck on that guitar is the party piece for sure. It's one of the best necks I've ever played on the Strat. Even like some custom shop ones, I go back to that one. I'm like, no, that one feels like the satin kind of finish on the back of it, like compared to the SRV, which has a gloss finish on the back. It's night and day. I mean, some people hear 7 1/4 inch radius and they're like, oh no, like you can't bend on, you know, can't do any bends on a, you know, a 7 1/4 inch radius. Well, clearly if you watch John, people doing demos, you can. The neck's very comfortable to play. The finish in the back of it, I don't like as much as that Strat, just because I'm used to it, and this is a little bit more glossy on the back, but I'm sure it'll wear, and it's a new guitar, right? So
I mean, you can always take some steel wool to it too, and it helps smooth that out.
Yeah, totally. I could always do that as well. I might do that one day, or just see how much naturally I can kind of wear off. But the pickups I think they're way better than the Big Dippers personally. These are the new like 2021 Silver Sky pickups. Not a lot of people know this, but they've actually changed some values and stuff with the Silver Sky pickups going into 2021. So they're a little bit different, and we kind of believe, at least, and I say we, it's me and the people I kind of collaborate with in the Merrill world, we believe that as the Silver Sky changes in John's hands, we see the trickle down effect of what comes in our hands. Like John had this satin nitro prototype for the 2019 World Tour. We finally got that finish in 2021. In 2020, I want to say, or I think it was 2020 or maybe 2019. Whenever it was, don't quote me on that. He posted a picture of always pushing underneath the guard of one of his Silver Skies. And if you can actually like read, I believe it was Genesis Pickups, who's the one who actually figured this out. The writing underneath says new wire. And we believe that those pickups ended up becoming, you know, leading into what the new 2021 pickups are that John had from earlier. So whatever, and apparently that's the same thing happening with the J mod. Whatever tweaks that happened to John's J mods, they tweak when they produce the public version. So even with the J mods, apparently there is changes to them, slight changes, like there's still J mod, but there's slight changes like the tone stacking or something. I don't quote me on it. I don't really know, but from what I've heard from people who own the amps, that's what they're kind of saying, that there's been a few different changes between, you know, what year you buy them and kind of production of them. Kind of same with this, but overall, it's a brilliant instrument. And I briefly mentioned that I'm Tommy. My friend Tommy actually owned this one, this exact guitar. And he gave me the friends and family deal on it, which is really sweet of him because he wanted to go back to having a gloss satin or a gloss mock sand one. He owned a 2019 gloss mock sand, and then he got this, and then he sold the gloss, and then he liked the pickups, but he ended up liking the gloss finish better. So he got a 2021 gloss one, like the back ordered ones, which he's now confirmed do have the new pickups in it as well. So he got the exact model he wanted, and I got the one I wanted. I know I mentioned to a few people and in a few videos, I was debating Roxy Pink, but you know, some people have been giving me a bit of grief for this, but everyone I felt like was going to get a Roxy Pink. That's the way in the Gear Lounge, at least, it was going about. And everyone was saying, oh yeah, I'm getting Roxy Pink. And yeah, I'll be honest, it kind of killed it for me because, you know, I might have gotten, when the Silver Sky first came out, I looked at getting a tungsten and everyone had a tungsten. So I was like, okay, well, you know, I don't want that. And then when the new colors came out, Mesa Gold was kind of the big one that everyone had. And I was looking at Orion Green. I played one in person. I loved the finish. And I was like, you know what? You don't see a lot of these out here. You know, why not get something that, you know, is a bit more unique and you just don't see people have, or even Dodge and Blue. You don't see a ton of those out there. So that was kind of like that's like my logic. It's not because, oh, like I can't have the one that everyone has, but if the Roxy Pink was limited, I was going to get one because that's special. A limited run for Sob Rock, that's special and something I'll always look back on being, this is a really rare collector's piece for a new era of John's thing. But between that and apparently the quoted insane wait times, I don't know, like I've heard different things, but I didn't want to wait. Point being, I didn't want to wait any longer than I needed to get one. So this ended up coming out, and this is the finish I kind of really always wanted. So it's what I went with. And I know a lot of people have satins anyway, so maybe I'm being a bit hypocritical, but hey, you know what?
I like the satin more than the gloss. Just it looks smoother and just it's beautiful.
I will say the one thing I didn't like with the Nebula was that like if I was with the way the world was, I was playing with people outside, like with drummers and like people like outside, just because like, you know, and when you'd sweat and you'd be playing a bit, the top here started to get a little sticky almost with the gloss finish and stuff, and it just got a little bit uncomfortable, and I found myself having to wipe it off a lot. I can already tell that this satin finish won't get like that. It's so smooth, and it's because it's not gloss, there's no resistance even when your arm's resting, it just glides. So even from like a playing standpoint, I like the finish better, and you don't get the fingerprints that you do on a gloss.
And I hate that about the gloss. It's just too thick for me. It's just, there's no traction.
Yeah, so gear choice of the week for me, my Silver Sky. Tommy did a great job. He I wanted to touch on this actually. We believe this is the very first satin Moxan Silver Sky ever sold.
Really?
Because Tommy's got a really great contact at Sweetwater. I know him a bit as well, and they, from what we could tell from watching when the satins were coming out, were the first place to get them in stock. His contact, Tommy had his name down for a Moxan satin, so his contact reached out to him saying, hey, we got our first 3 in stock, here's a picture of all of them, pick which one you want. And he picked the one with I think it was the second lightest one, but the darkest rosewood board out of all of them. So he bought that one, and we hadn't seen anyone else ever online, at least that we'd seen post them holding a satin Moxan in person. So from that, based on that, we believe that this physical one is the very first one ever sold to the public, from the batch of March 3rd.
Or at least it has some sort of, I guess, limitedness to it.
Well, it's just kind of cool. Like I mean, like I don't really care, but it's kind of a cool piece of history. Like I actually kind of want to email PRS to be like, was this one of the very first ones ever built? And if they say yes, then odds are, you know, this probably is the first one ever sold, which is just kind of cool. It's just a cool fact. But yeah, thank you, Tommy. Again, if you end up watching this whole podcast, thank you. I appreciate you, man. So that's my gear choice of the week, Silver Sky.
So mine is kind of a callback to what we were talking about earlier, but the Tri-Avatar. Dude, I'm in love with this thing. It is probably honestly the best chorus I've ever played. It's just so lush sounding. I mean, I know I talked it to death in my video, but this thing is just, it's very rare that I plug in something and I'm genuinely impressed by it. But this, I was blown away with it. So
it's brilliant. It's you know, like all the demos I've heard, like your demo and everything, it sounds phenomenal.
Yeah. And it's just, I figured like for the video, like the only right way to do it would be go in stereo, and even just recording the tracks, it sounded so good. I played around with it for probably about 2 hours before I actually hit record on anything, just to get a feel for it and play it. And I just kind of got lost in it. And it's not like there's a ton of controls to really do anything with, but just the range you have between the 3 different phases of chorus, and you know, the wet dry blend and everything, it sounds so good.
I think that Free the Tone makes some of the best stuff on the market, and it's kind of funny. One of my favorite brands as well is Providence, and they actually are a split of Free the Tone.
Oh,
they Free the Tone and Providence wants a lot of the same kind of thing and same kind of group, from the research I've done, at least in my understanding of it, and they kind of split. And I used to have a really old school Provenance pedal that I believe also said "free the tone" on it.
Oh, really?
So don't
Alright.
again, people don't quote me on anything I say. But that's what from my understanding, and I haven't thought about this in a while, but from my understanding, they were the same company, and then they kind of just did a, hey, some of us are going to go do our own thing, kind of like Chase Bliss and Zvex, kind of how that thing became. Where I think Joel used to work at Zvex.
Yeah, yeah, and split off into Chase Bliss.
Yeah, and like it's always a thing of, hey, like we're happy to see you, go and do your own thing, create your own pedals and stuff. And I mean, I use pretty much exclusively Free the Tones patch cables. They're brilliant.
Oh yeah, the solderless.
They're stupid good. Yeah, man, your demo of that was insane. I got to get my hands on one.
Thank you. No, I definitely recommend it. I was kind of tossing up between, because I'm building a studio board once I get the space set up, and it's going to be fairly Mayer influence, but kind of like your more old school sounds for just studio recording. And I'm debating between this and the CE2, but as of right now, this is in the lead. It's so good.
Well, I think if you people go and watch the video Ahmad posted, and with my other buddy Brian, you can really, and if you get your CE2 in, you can do a shootout as well. And the Free the Tone, from what my understanding is, can do everything the CE2 can, and then just then some.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
you can get this pretty close to a CE2, and this is probably going to win, honestly, just because it has that wide range. But it's, like I said, it's rare that I get a pedal and I'm honestly in awe of it, and this one did it for me for sure.
Yeah, it's special when you get something like that really it's going to be great, but then to get it in person, and you just kind of.
So do you have any plans on doing a Sob Rock style board, like your 2019 board?
We'll see what the I guess we haven't talked about that. So Vince helped me out with getting a custom board built I have a replica of John Mayer's 2019 World Tour pedal board. I have a video doing the build of the very first video on my YouTube channel. I have that here, and I'm definitely not going to deconstruct that. Like, I've taken pedals off to use for other things because I love the Providence Delay 80s, and I'm not going to, I had to at one point, but then I sold one to my buddy Ahmad for, really good deal, because, I didn't want to have just two sitting here, and I can just take the one off that board, put it on my other board, and then, put it right back. Like, all the power cables and patch cables are still there. So all I need to do is just put the pedal back in and hook everything back up. Takes 2 seconds. So if, depending on what the new tour looks like and stuff like that, I might do a Sob Rock board, especially with making content for people kind of as things come out. I think that could have some value, maybe, to experiment with tones, but we'll see. I think it's a strong possibility. Kind of depends on what John's going to be throwing on, but even he said his main formula hasn't changed that much. The only thing that's really new is the Una, if that stays.
Yeah. I mean, you've already kind of gotten some glimpse of what the boards are looking like, so I can't imagine it'd be much different than what's already been there, but
more or less the same formula, probably the Chrono Providence Delay, like I said, the Una TS10, some sort of claw and cell pedal, whatever that new mystery pedal might be, it's going to be around that formula. Probably the Flint,
oh yeah, just some of those mainstays.
Yeah, the ones that aren't going anywhere, or but then even if it's if he wants to play Love on the Weekend, the new Neighbor Slate will be there, because if he wants to play that song, that pedal is that song. If he wants to play Rosie or I Don't Trust Myself, he's going to have a Qtron.
Yeah.
So there's certain things that just due to their nature and what he uses them for won't leave, but definitely, if people want to hear kind of breaking down and trying to show settings, if I can just build a version of his board, and just if it means taking a few things off of this board for the time being and throwing them on, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about your pedal collection, because I know you're a way huge collector, but what I hear about your collection as a whole.
I love way huge. When I first started really getting into pedals, as I mentioned earlier on, God, this is probably a long video, but people, I didn't know, yeah, like I mentioned before, a fuzz was a fuzz, you know, a distortion pedal was a distortion pedal. I was so innocent, and you know, ignorance is bliss to the world of
Naive,
pedals.
yeah.
That was gonna consume me one day, and now that has consumed me. One of the very first introductions into like a more boutique kind of out there pedal builder was Way Huge for me. And it does go back to John, because I saw his post of his collection of Way Huge pedals and being like, oh, like one of my guitar idols collects these pedals. That's really cool. And then kind of learning the history of the brand as I got into it, you know, George Tripp's being, you know, one of the fathers of kind of the modern boutique pedal industry, especially in America, in Los Angeles. One of the fathers of that, you know, him and like, you know, Full Tone were kind of right around like the 90s, that time frame kind of going on and stuff. And then learning the history about, you know, Tom Petty using the Red Llama, Tom Petty using one of these Mark I Red Llamas, which is really cool.
What is that based off of?
Foxtone Fuzz Machine.
Okay. All right.
Pretty sure that's what this is.
I remember reading it somewhere. It's been a while.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this, yeah, it's the Foxtone
Okay.
pedal. It's the headroom in these old school Way Huge pedals is absolutely insane too. Just like
Much more
Unity
dialed back
volume
on the newer ones.
Yeah, Unity volume on this Red Llama is about, you know, there, like
Jeez.
about 9 o'clock. That's Unity. Then everything else is just more. And I found the Red Llama, people either love it or they hate it. It's play that through like my Tweed, like that's Tom Petty right there. Like, it's something super good. But yeah, so that was my first introduction. Then, like I said, you find out George Tripp's history with Line 6 building, you know, like the DL4, the FM4, like those pedals, amp building, him going through with Dunlop and building a bunch of amazing products through Dunlop. He just, you know, he's one of the biggest pioneers of gear, and just, you know, the way he carries himself, I really respect. And he just seems like genuinely a really cool dude. And I actually have had the privilege of talking with him a couple of times over Instagram, and him just giving insight on, you know, talking about my vintage collection and stuff like that. And just, you know, chat with him for take a little bit of his time was really cool. And for someone like him to be, you know, down to earth and willing to chat with someone like me about his brand, that was really cool to have happen too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Getting to meet one of your heroes there.
Yeah. And so, you know, that just fuels the fire too, you know, to be like, so it just goes on, and then, you know, start collecting. Like this is probably like one of my pride and joys of my whole gear collection. This is the Way Huge Krinakuri.
Oh yeah.
That one's
DOD 250 style.
Yeah. DOD D250 style that they only made 10 of them Japan exclusive release. And the Way Huge is so cool too, because you have companies that make a limited run thing, make a huge deal out of it, and then you have Way Huge. We're not even going to post about it really on our Instagram or anything. We might post a picture, but we're not really going to talk about it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the only way I even knew about this pedal was Josh Scott posted it and had it in a video being like, oh yeah, who cares? There's only 10 in the world. It's Japan, extremely rare, limited, DOD 250, you know. And then I ended up tracking one down, luckily, and getting one. So yeah, so, you know, the whole Way Huge thing is kind of like my main collecting focus. Is building, you know, I got a Saffron Squeeze original one as well. I got a few other cool Bonamassa. Like I love Joe Bonamassa too. People, same thing. I think either hate or love Joe Bonamassa. Yeah. I really like Joe Bonamassa just because I think he's just a great player, and like his collection of gear and how passionate he is. Again, either you hate that he buys everything, or you admire that he's curating and keeping everything safe and in good hands. You know, I think he's a cool guy, and he's got, you know, some Way Huge pedal collabs, which I've gotten. I think they're brilliant. So that's kind of like actual collecting. You know, I formed some relationships with some other companies as well, like never like officially been like sponsored or sent things really, but, you know, I've met a few great people, like, you know, Emilio with Cornerstone. He is phenomenal. He's a genius. I chat with him actually pretty frequently. I have their Gladio, the Cornerstone Gladio.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that.
That's brilliant. Hazier made a video on it too, which is,
I've been trying to get in with Cornerstone. I haven't gotten anything back yet.
But, if you, yeah, Yeah. I'm sure they'll get back to, because Emilio, he's great for stuff like that, and they're so busy though with everything they got going on, like
Oh, yeah, I
Antiques, the
figure.
new John Mayer. He's a big John Mayer fan too.
Mhm.
The Antiques, like a tube screamer. It's kind of like Henrik with Nordvang's another brand that I really love and admire, and I think he's great, and he's great for the community and for the
Yeah.
culture
Yeah.
as well. Someone who just genuinely cares about making a good product and being passionate about, he's another John Mayer fan as well. Like Henrik makes great, good quality stuff that, is voiced to be like John Mayer sound, at least what he gathers and tweaks it. That's what they did with the Cornerstone Antique, the new version too. So those are companies
like
that,
double preamp, right?
Yeah, it's a dumble. The Antique is a tube screamer actually.
Oh, okay.
It's like a TS10, but then they kind of, listen to his tube screamer sound and they tweak it to be a bit more voice. It's probably like the same thing what Henrik did, or similar to what Henrik did with their TS10 side on the Gravity. Tweak it to be a bit more, it's really where the light is kind of thing. That's kind of what they did with the Antique. I haven't played one yet, but I will soon here. And a few other companies like Pete Cornish and stuff like that. Like, I mean, majority of my collection revolves around John Mayer and kind of like his gear world and stuff like that. But of course, AC30, high powered twin tweed, 1977 Marshall off camera right here, and stuff like that, like Ariel Posen signature pedals and stuff. That's kind of, I collect what I like. There's no real rhyme or reason for it, like 70s Les Pauls on the wall, custom shop in a deluxe. There's no rhyme or reason. Like if Chris Shiflett from the Foo Fighters, his signature Telecaster, like there's no rhyme or reason. I just, I collect what I like.
Yeah.
And
that's pretty much where I am. Yeah. And I see a lot of people like they kind of stick to one brand. Like, we had the Cameron over at the Boss Pedal Project on here a couple weeks ago. And he obviously collects every Boss pedal. And I've always wanted to do something like that, but I was like, you know what? I like everything. So I don't want to limit myself. So if I think it sounds good, I'm going to get it.
I remember you talking to me, you and I were texting about that a couple of weeks ago. But same thing, it's like, I like what I like and I don't want to limit. Like, I'd love to collect as, I'd love to collect every way huge pedal that I can, but that's kind of unrealistic considering, someone paid like 10,000 Canadian for a Mark I camel toe and Reverb.
Jesus. Nope.
Yeah, nope. That's a big old nope. No. So, but I mean, within reason, collect a bunch of them, and just because I'm passionate about it and stuff like that. I like to chat about it and it's like being a mini Joe Bonamassa. I collect what I like and I'm passionate about it, and I'm going to take care of it, and I want to share that with the world and share my passion. And then, years down the road when I can't play or whatever, hopefully I have a kid, or, it goes to a good home where, someone will appreciate it and it keeps on living its life, because all the stuff will outlast us, which is amazing. Like these Les Pauls my Marshall are like almost twice my age.
And I'm right there with you. I've starting to shift my focus on like collecting more like vintage type pedals, like CE1, CE2, DM2, that sort of thing. Just a lot of the old classics. I want to have those. So I'm not going to limit myself. Just I don't want any bad pedals, really. That's my only rule. But
you collect the good stuff, and that's the right stuff to collect.
I'm a snob with it though. Like I don't Brandon Schock, who we work with, he loves collecting bad pedals, like just really shitty pedals, and like that's just his thing. And he was like, what do you have that's bad? I was like, nothing really. Like if it's bad, like I'm getting rid of it. I don't want it. But some of them are so bad that you do want them. Like right now we're putting together the world's worst pedal board, and it's got like 10 pedals on it. That's just the absolute worst thing for that effect.
Can you tell me what some of them are, and then just beat them out?
So we have I forget it's called the Reverb. It is the worst.
Okay, I've heard about that.
Digital reverb you have ever heard in your life. It is absolutely terrible.
Just the algorithms are not there.
It is trash. Like it's an Amazon pedal basically, but there's a couple demos out there, and it's like if somebody took just like an Amazon reverb and mix it with like an Amazon ring modulator. It's
Sounds interesting.
it's not good. Like I think we have like the EQD Rainbow machine, but not that it's a bad pedal, but it's fairly unusable. I think there's a tuner that is just not right at all. A noise gate that introduces noise to your signal, stuff like that. So we'll be
that'll be an interesting video.
Yeah, we'll be releasing that in the next couple of weeks, but it's just trash. So like that sort of thing, like I don't want any of that. I'll leave that up to them. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can edit that out or beep that all out or whatever. But
I'll censor as necessary.
yeah, censor as necessary to keep the surprise for everyone
Yeah.
else. But I couldn't help myself. Well, that'll be fun.
You're good. But before we wrap up here, do you have anything like you're working on coming up soon that you want to promote or?
Not necessarily. I mean, I've had a few people giving me grief about like, oh, like you're making all these videos. Why don't you just play your gear?
Yeah.
I laugh and it's like, well, again, the people like that aren't my target audience. It's the people who want to learn information and are asking to know stuff. But I think I mentioned in my last video, because I actually posted a video today that I play briefly and kind of ironically. But I mentioned that, like I'm in month 12 now of my quoted, or no, month 11 now of my quoted 9 to 10 month wait for my 2-Rock traditional clean, like the ultimate Mare amp. And so, I have the aux, I have the JMod cabinet ready to go. I'm just waiting on, that, because why would I demo for especially Mare stuff, anything else, if I'm going to have this amp should have had it by now.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
That's the main thing I got going on is that, once I get that amp in, the 2019 World Tour replica pedal board that, you helped me put together is going to be coming out. And I'm like, all right, I have like pages of notes on my phone already ready to go, where it's like, okay, in repair in Bocadan, or, I don't trust myself in Amsterdam, or whatever it is, helpless in Austin, Texas. Here's the pedals he did because it's different than this time. And here's how he did it. And I'm going to break everything down for everyone. Okay. Be like, all right, here's how he played helpless most of the time. And then if there's a deviation, here's how he did it. Like a lot of people ask, what did he use the OC3 for? Okay, well, here's an example of him using on this outro solo for helpless. Here's an example of vultures, and stuff like that. And that's going to be, I think, really great content, because it's, I pretty much have the pedal board, the Moxan guitar that he pretty much used, and the right amp. So it's like, here's my settings. They're not going to be universal, but hopefully this helps people dial it in and understand, okay, here's what pedals go with what generally. So I think, that's what's coming up, hopefully as soon as I can make it happen. Okay. And I think that's going to be really big and exciting for at least my channel.
I mean, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it right.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, at this point, like, especially when I came out with, I wanted to make videos and educate people. And then it's like, yes, I'm going to play, I'm going to give you demos. But at the time, even it was like, I could have it in a few weeks back in, May. I was like, oh, it could be here soon. So, I'll make a couple of videos and then, but it still hasn't been here. So I got to keep also making content to keep things going on my channel. I can't stop and then not post for 2 months and then come back again. YouTube algorithm doesn't like that. It'll kill my channel. And then I'll be kind of almost starting from square one. So why not build and inform people, give people, I always pull on my Instagram, what do you guys want to know? And I'll make it. And I do that. And then once we get to this stage, I'll do a bit of both. Like maybe 1 week I'll do a demo video, 1 week I'll do an informational video, or I'll do 2 a week, who knows? But that is what's coming up with me. So if people are curious, check it out. Hopefully September, let's say.
We're definitely looking forward to that. But
yeah, I am too.
I appreciate you coming on though, man. It was great chatting with you and seeing, the Gear Lounge blow up and seeing your channel kind of coming into what you want it to be. So it's been great kind of seeing the transformation over the last 2 years and all that happening for you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Vince. And it's the same to you, man. It's been awesome to watch Vagabond audio become a thing, be born, and from when you moved back to the States from Italy and everything like that, like be able to watch that whole process go. It's you've done incredibly well, and you'll text me like, oh hey, like I got in touch with Creation, or I got in touch with the these guys now and we're working together, it's you've come so far and it's going just nowhere but up from here still. And it's so, it's been an honor to even be on your podcast, and for the people listening, have some, like I said, like I keep saying, some guy in Canada who makes videos about John Mayer in his basement come and chat for who knows how long now.
Yeah,
but
no, I mean, it was great having you on, and I mean, like I said, we've known each other for a little while now, and just I don't know, trying to figure out exactly how to say it. I guess I appreciate your kind words too, but just seeing it all just kind of actually start working and the way you want it to, it's great to watch that. I'm definitely excited to see what you've got coming up in the future. I want to see a lot more of those demos for sure, because I mean, you're a great player for one, but definitely now that you found your niche, getting to see exactly what you can do. So
yeah, it's going to be exciting. Hopefully I don't disappoint too many people with that. I appreciate you.
You're going to piss some people off, but fuck them.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Hey, you gotta, you're never going to please everyone. And
yeah,
I don't know. I don't want to be liked by everyone, because the world would be boring.
Exactly.
And I don't like everyone either. So hey, it's two-way street.
Yep. Yeah. Oh God, I can go on about that. But again, thank you for coming on. To everyone watching, go and check out his channel. We'll put a link in the description below. Is it Justin's Gear Corner, right?
Yeah. Still working on the name. That's kind of the name right now, at least. We'll see.
Right. Yeah, we'll throw a link in the description box below. For everyone else, like, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. As Lowell always says, be fantastic always, and try not to lick a bag of suck.